But as far as stuff that is not bugging out, we will move to check the tech. And Xiaomi's Cyberdog, which is very similar to the Boston Dynamics like the movement, uh, robot dog. They're first going to release it, or at least make it available to the current fans, people that are like already signed up for like phones and things that they already offer, and enthusiasts for the tech. With the idea being that if you purchase this, they want you to help create, or like basically to open it up. It's very
Open source.
open source opportunity for folks to develop the programs and apps that would be available for your device. So right now it would cost about 10,000 won, yuan, and for US dollars it'd be $1,540. And sounds
That's pretty doable.
yeah.
I mean, if you're somebody who is like, oh man, I'd love to have a robot dog, and write a program so that it can. I know no good ideas are coming to me right now. Write a program so that it can find where I put my keys, wallet, and phone, and then tell me where they are. If you're somebody who thinks that sentence and actually means it, like, you probably can muster together $1,500 to get your hands on the thing.
You're not wrong. Not wrong.
I mean, like, that's not like, there's nothing to sneeze at, but like, if you're serious about doing it, like, you dump money into whatever your hobbies are. And if you're somebody who already is messing around with robotics and like that's what you want to do and that's your hobby, like, that's an investment, but you could do it. Like, that's an achievable value as opposed to $10,000 to rent the dog or whatever.
Sure. So it has 11 sensors on it, with a combination of like a normal touch sensor, like you think about haptic feedback you have in your phone that are in the tips of its toes. So as far as like an ultra touch, there's like heightened sensitivity settings for it to like detect more nuance than just what it touches. Like effectively think of it. Like
when you make fun of it, when you make fun of it, it gets upset. Hypersensitivity.
Along with GPS signaling for like where it is in the world, and cameras to help it see, being powered by the NVIDIA Jetson Xavier NX AI chip, which just seems like an absurd amount of names for a chip. I'm sorry.
Jetson Xavier, yeah, right.
The Jetson Xavier.
So the Jetson Xavier mobile.
I like the Jetsons nod there, though. So
I do.
Yeah.
It has a the Jetsons / X-Men kind of feel to it. Which, speaking of the Jetsons, we have some new information coming to us from TechCrunch about Samsung's tech announcements. Some new products that they have coming up soon are the Galaxy Watch 4, wherein they went pretty deep on health metrics, focusing a lot on its ability to monitor stuff like blood pressure, your blood oxygen level, body composition, which I have no idea how it achieves these feats, but or how accurate they turn out to be. But I'm curious to see, once consumers get their hands on it, how accurate this stuff is. There's two versions of that watch: the Galaxy 4 and the Galaxy Watch 4 and the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic. The standard one is a little bit thinner and lighter with a touch-sensitive bezel for controlling the interface. And the Classic is basically bulkier, and the bezel that physically like rotates and spins, which to me has like a little bit of like a James Bond kind of feel, like you're like modifying a watch or like you're like putting in a code or something.
Nice.
Then we got what's the next one called? The Galaxy Z Fold 3, which sounds like a capsule you'd find in Dragon Budokai Tenkaichi, but it is in fact a foldable phone. The Fold 3 will be the first Samsung device with an under-display camera, which is a neat trick that generally comes at the cost of picture quality. But the back of the device brings in three more standard, less hidden lenses. We have an ultra wide one, a wide angle one, and a telephoto one that all come in at a 12 megapixel camera for each. And it supports the S Pen stylus. So it's like a foldable phone that is, the picture's up. So yeah, you can see. That's to me, that's wild. I'm not entirely sure why I want a foldable phone. I guess for pocket space.
I mean, the other one that we'll talk about makes a little more sense because
Yeah,
or I guess really if it's like if you want a phone tablet, if you want to have that kind of size and a portable thing that you don't have to throw in a bag, this makes sense for you. But if you just want a phone, then no, that's ridiculous.
Just to jump into the comments real quick, Lindy Fitness said bioelectrical impedance not very accurate. Maybe some low level infrared. Razzmatazz secrets is actually his verdict.
Okay,
I won't put Razzmatazz in the Lindy Fitness mouth. But next up we got the Galaxy
it already
Z.
exists there, to be completely honest. You know,
yeah, it does. It does.
He doesn't need an excuse for us to say Razzmatazz. He just
next is the Galaxy Z Flip 3, not to be confused with the Fold. So the Flip is exactly what you think. It's like more like a flip phone design, but it folds laterally instead of longitudinally, or inverse that. Sorry. But the Flip 3 gets many of the same durability improvements that come to the Fold 3, including like an improved aluminum body and a more durable display and some water resistance capabilities. I missed this note. So going back up, the Galaxy Watch is quite expensive. I believe it comes in at $1,800. The Fold 3, or so we know. I don't think the price is for that one.
The watch is like
yeah.
Hold on.
It's the Fold 3. That's the one that's the 1,800. The Flip 3 is $999.
Which is closer to current prices for a top tier.
Yeah, but that's still a lot of money.
Oh no, it's still a lot. And that's even questioning, are they even going to give you like the lease or the monthly option on it, or do you have to pay it out of pocket?
Yeah, I would wager because they want to get people, they want to get contracts, and they know long term they're going to get more money out of you than from you having the contract, and you probably will for the phone. So they want to get you with those signing rewards and whatnot. But yeah, the Flip 3 is $999, and no, that's not $9.99, but it's $900.99. Well, $999 dollar bills. Lastly, they have the Galaxy Buds 2, which is a quote-unquote entry-level wireless earbud. And it's pretty much everything that wireless earbuds do. They're smaller, they're smaller and lighter. They have active noise cancellation, which if you're not familiar with it, is basically a button you can hit that creates like white noise as a background, so that it can cancel out the sound that you're hearing from just having your headphones on. I had a pair of headphones that had that ability, but then they broke, and I was like, I ain't paying for this feature anymore. But those are coming out on the August 26th, and they'll be $150. So reasonably affordable for people who want to buy wireless earbuds instead of headphones, which are always superior, unless you want to run in them or do things that require your head to shake. Then they are not superior.
I had the version ones. I have the original Galaxy Buds. I really have not had any issues with them. There's trying to think. Charging does pretty well on them, because charging from the pack, as far as charging the whole thing, like that does pretty well. It takes a long time for it to do that. Motions are also really good, as far as like letting you program different motions. And to your point about the active noise canceling, which I hope continues on the Buds too, you can turn it on and off, which is helpful if you're outside and need to hear some outside noise. Like I bike all the time, so noise canceling on a bike, not a great idea if I need to hear a car or need to hear some like noises that might be happening around me that would give me a clue that I need to like stop or do something, or someone's honking at me.
Or that death is imminent if you continue on your current path.
So like, and then you can do it on a hand, like before, and I give credit to their Galaxy app. It used to be you had to like go in this app and settings and to turn it on and off. They let the motions get more customizable, which I'm assuming will apply to the buds too as well. So you can map it to a like long hold on the headphones or so on and so forth, and that way you can turn it on and off quickly without having to get to your phone and stuff. So really good for being active. So
that is
I hope
good.
The Buds 2 will do that and continue that, because that's a really good function on that. So I might be Samsung fanboying a little bit here. I apologize, but
it's all good. Let's see. I'll take the next one. So next up, Google bans coming from Engadget.com, Google bans a location tracking company, SafeGraph. SafeGraph is a company that captured and sold Android users' location data. As Motherboard reports, Android developers who use the company's software dev kit, SDK, were given 7 days to remove SafeGraph's location gathering tools from their apps or face possible objection from the Play Store. Some of the data that SafeGraph had grabbed was from apps that harnessed the SDK, because that's how that works. The apps were able to track the user's locations, though many people may not be aware of how the companies use their data. Google brought the ban hammer down on SafeGraph back in early June, but it's not clear if any apps are still using the SDK, or Google's taken action against all the developers who haven't removed any of Safeguard's plugin location data or anything like that. So yeah, they squashed that and, basically said get the heck out of here. It was basically cue the Simpsons meme where Mo chucks him out. So, but hopefully not the part where he ends up back into the bar. But yeah, that's it's definitely something good to see that Google's staying on top of if people are actively. Because it's so to give a more clear picture. So it's not necessarily that. How best to describe? If you're developing an app and you want to use location tracking, you have two options. You can use a software that somebody else has written to basically do it for you, or you can write it yourself. The latter is generally a form of just reinventing the wheel. We already have location tracking software, and if you want your app to use it, it's totally fine to use somebody else's. But this particular somebody else, SafeGraph, was basically what everybody who used their tool to do it was then grabbing all that information and then selling it to people covertly, presumably covertly. Google got wind of it and was basically like, no, nobody can use SafeGraph anymore. If you are, you have 1 week to, rip it out and replace it with something else, which isn't a terribly difficult ask. Again, this is a third-party software. So you can just pick a different third-party software. Hopefully your code isn't bad, because if it is, it might be hard. But if it's not, then it should be easy. But yeah, a week is a reasonable turnaround for that kind of thing. It might be a little bit tight depending on how big your company or how big your application team is or whatever, but it's achievable. So yeah, good on them.
All right. And our next one, do y'all remember the Epic Store versus Apple argument that we got into a long time ago, where Epic was like, these fees are ridiculous. This is ridiculous. And mainly because they had issued an in-game currency to Fortnite, which Apple violated the purchase of subscriptions and things inside of Apple Store rather than doing it in the Fortnite game, ergo, and also in the Epic Store.
Mm-hmm.
That litigation is still ongoing. Don't know what the end result of that is. We're going to end up getting more details on the App Store practices and stuff. So, but as a stem from that, a group of senators, led by Richard Blumenthal, with Senators Amy Klobuchar and Marsha Blackburn, are attempting to create a new bill which would rewrite the dynamics of Apple and Google's app stores. So we're pulling some of this, we're pulling a significant chunk of this from TechCrunch.com. So the bill would allow third-party app makers and potentially third-party app stores like Epic or like EA Play, whatever. Anyway,
Right.
but other app stores that wanted to exist, or if you wanted to use them to download an app onto your phone without using the Apple App Store or using Google Play Store, this would allow this to exist without potentially additional fees to exist on the Android or the iOS device, right? And or not just hiding or failure to disclose a cheaper option from. Now that's the part that gets a little weird for me, because are you saying that Apple or Android would need to tell folks that a cheaper option exists? That one feels a little weird, because currently you could, if you want to, download other apps to your phone, particularly for Android. I don't have as much experience on Apple as far as your ability to download a third-party app without using the App Store. So again, I don't use Apple enough to know that off the top of my head. I know on Android, without even using a rooted device, you can do that very easily. So I'm wondering if that's what they mean by that language. But the advertised or the like not disclosing piece, that seems a little weird. But I can get behind the just not blocking or trying to go after third-party apps and or app stores. Like I totally get behind.
Yeah, because I don't know exactly how it works, but I know you can download like other app stores from at least the Android App Store. Back when if you recall several months ago when Jerry or I were super duper into Genshin Impact, I tried to download the tablet version of Genshin Impact on my tablet naturally, but it required me to download like a different app store where Genshin was on that app store. But I couldn't. I think ultimately my tablet didn't have the specs to play Genshin, and I was disappointed as I could only play it at home. You can download like other application stores from other sources, so long as you can get it onto your device.
Yeah. Lenny Fitness brings up a question: what if the cheaper option sucks? I think that's really about the consumer having to like get into that and decide if they want to use it.
Yeah, pretty much.
As a person that grew up, I think Steve can relate to this. Like using computers before people started calling them apps. Applications, like you had to go to a website and determine for yourself, is this site legit or not?
Yep.
And do I want to install this to my computer? Which I feel like it's become a lost art as we've gotten more into tablets and phones, which again, that's not a knock. That's not saying like one's better to like, I think actually having a store that verifies or attempts to verify, because there's still things that can sneak into that. We've reported on that too.
Yep.
You can have things still sneak onto, but generally there is a effort to like, should that be on here? That seems sketch. Yeah. We're not gonna.
And to jump on that a little bit, the benefit of having a curated app store is that you have some assertion that basically says, hey, if you want to be here, like these are the rules that you need to play by, and if you don't, then then in legal terms, we have the ability to kick your app in the teeth if you are doing stuff like selling people's information or retrieving data that that you don't ask that you can retrieve, or any of that kind of stuff, or doing nefarious stuff. So having a place that basically that sense that Kenny and I and a lot of other people developed of, is this website sus as hell? Because there's a lot of weird ads on the side of here. Like I see 4 download buttons, and when I mouse over them, all of them send me to other websites. So developing that sense of like, is this a trustworthy place, is something that by means of having an app store has shifted away from the consumer having to have to the individual.
Exactly.
Now, as in all things, when you give up things for the sake of security, you also lose some of that freedom of your freedom to choose. Can you download sus stuff? Just because it's sus doesn't mean that it's
Sus
bad,
stuff. Yeah.
right? Just because it's sus doesn't mean that it's bad necessarily, or simply because it's sus doesn't mean that you don't accept the consequences of downloading it. Which that could just be you have your information sold. Sucks. Tons of
I've
people
had
selling
some
my
bad
information.
calls.
Yep.
Like, God, that virus is bad. I'm like, God.
Oopsie doopsie.
Which also reminds me of the CNET downloads time period. I mean, they still exist. They're still a thing.
Yeah,
But it's like
yeah.
CNET would be like kind of your, if you wanted to make sure you got a clean copy of a download of antivirus software. And actually, Lenny Fitness just brought up LimeWire, but LimeWire would you could get some before. I don't think they do this anymore. I think it's been a long time since they've done it, but you could get file sharing software on the CNET downloads site to make sure you got a clean version of it before. I think eventually they got they were like, come on, you can't be putting that on there. Come on.
Like here's a good example. Like Kenny and I know when you go to download something that you expect to be in a certain format, and you get to the end of the file name and it ends in .exe. It's like that's we ain't downloading that. I'm not running that on my computer. It's like this supposed to be a zip file. What's going on?
It's like, and if people are wondering, what are you talking about? Because that .exe's got to connect somewhere, or either it's already packaged. At least with the zip, there should be things that pull out from that zip file for it to complete. So
Yeah. It's like, I ain't downloading just a raw exe off the internet. I don't think so. You got to at least zip it first to trick me. It's like, okay, cool. I expect I should have to unzip a package and then run some executable or something. You can't just tell me like, oh yeah, this is funnymeme.jpeg.exe. I don't think so. You ain't gonna catch me sleeping.
my
Let me
computer
hit.
decided to just resize.
Oh, it's all good. I got the next one. Oh, here we go. So this one's coming from Ars Technica. The new MacBook Pro or MacBook will be here before you know it, for real this time. Folks who've been anticipating the new MacBook M1X has been experiencing some production delays, and it's been supposedly about to drop, quote unquote, any day now. As this writer from Ars Technica puts it, which is a funny joke that I wanted to make sure I include. Gurman, who has a strong history of accurately reporting on the new Apple products from sources with direct knowledge of Apple's plans, writes that, quote unquote, some hiccups have led to production delays for the new MacBook Pro computers, which analysts and consumers have been expecting pretty much for most of the year. The update that's coming out with this new MacBook is expected to be a pretty major one. It'll move the 16-inch MacBook Pro to Apple's custom designed silicon with a new faster cousin to the M1 that hit the 13-inch model and the other Macs that last year or late last year, so around November, December. Some reports have called the new chip in this model in the M1X some people have called the new chip that purports these new capabilities the M1X, hence the name of why people call it the M1X MacBook. Other people call it the M2, but in either case, it's expected to have a 8 high-performance CPU cores, 2 efficiency CPU cores, and it's also expected to come in 2 variants, one with a 16-core GPU and another with 32 GPU cores, which is bonkers. But I also expect to see a bunch of other computers touting similar specs that don't cost as much pretty soon. So
as much, yeah. We know in the show that I am an Apple hater. That's nothing I've really hidden. So if you was like, he's biased against Apple, I feel like I've laid out plenty of receipts.
That's when he shows his arm and then pulls up a tattoo that says "I'm biased against Apple." It's like you're right.
But even I have had to be like, damn, y'all have really maximized the ARM architecture. And for folks that are listening and have no idea what the ARM architecture is, it has basically just gotten. We have gone roundabout from a closed computer system way back when, where you really couldn't switch parts out, and your RAM, CPU, and storage were all like close knit and together. Then we went open. Now, obviously, some Apple computers kind of like that's been a fight with an Apple for a long time, but generally, computers tried to get more open after that time period as parts became cheaper, and then people could like, especially during the early DIY enthusiast parts of computers. And that's continued on, but then it's been different for like Apple's tried to close theirs back off. Some competitors will sometimes do that again, kind of close it off. And then Intel released ARM specs, which was, hey, here's a way that we can take our motherboard, and solder these things back on and be more efficient, especially as we move to SSDs, which don't have the moving parts of a spinning hard drive. And like, hey, we can get back to chipsets being on the motherboard and just being efficient in that way, and the way they can divide info up. So that's kind of like a really down and dirty.
That's a good summary. Good summary.
Yeah, no idea what we're talking about. That's the idea. So as much as I have lambasted Apple's designs, particularly from 2014 to 2019 MacBooks, because if you break those,
it's GG.
You might have,
You just throw out the whole motherboard and let's order a new one.
This, on the other hand, as much as I am a little worried about what it means for repairs, as far as like if particular, like especially if your SSD goes out on this, like the issues that could come there. But performance-wise, unless now the ARM specs are out there, other people could go do this right now. Apple's the only one, at least, that has made a major push.
Dared to try.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? Okay, heck, we'll do it. We'll make our own. We'll do it.
Turns hat backwards.
Yeah.
I
mean, the performance is just mind-boggling. So I can't wait to see what happens. I doubt that it's going to be the M2, because I think if you're going to call it the M2, I think you're going to save that for a major performance bump. And I know these are already a major performance bump, but I would, if I had to hazard a guess, I think M1X sounds solid as a like, hey, this is definitely a adjustment or a addition to the chipset we've already designed. And then I think M2 will probably come down the line at some point. Because if they're able to really max that M2 out, yeah. So yeah, I have to give them this. This is impressive. And if there's anything that would make me think about grabbing an Apple product to use as my daily driver, this would be it. So I'll see it when it comes out. We'll see what the cost is. To Steve's point, though, there is tech out here that at least can already match the performance. It's a matter of, I think the cost might be the one thing we have to kind of like talk about and see what it could do. But
yeah, for me, it's like part of it. I know because it's Apple, like they have the brand name recognition, so they are allotted a markup. I don't like it, but it's true, and they take advantage of it. Because if I was a company that liked money, I would do it too. So I ain't gonna fault them, but that's the way it is. So from the outside, looking from the outside in, I'm gonna criticize them and act like I wouldn't do it, but I would. I will briefly, before we jump into the last main topic, which we won't spend as much time on because we are getting to a pretty late show. But I did want to talk about something because we talked about our bias against Apple. The Wizard of Woz, Steve Wozniak, spoke earlier this week about right to repair and like what that means. And he does a cameo on a channel where he talks about growing up in an age where everything was, or not everything, but most technologies were open source. When you bought a radio or a television, it came with the specs, so that if something went wrong, that you could fix it. And it was, if you had the technical know-how, you could dismantle and recompose an entire television out of entirely new parts. If something in your television broke, you had a means to look at the specs, go to the store, get what you needed, test it out, and confirm your suspicions, and then go back and fix your television set or your ham radio or your whatever.
His video is such a nerd out. It's beautiful. Definitely recommend. Yeah, keep going.
It's really wonderful. Like I don't want to get into all of it because it's his words. It's not that long. I highly recommend going to watch it. Steve Wozniak,
10 minutes at most.
If even. Steve Wozniak isn't in the public eye as much as I feel like he deserves to be. If you're not familiar with Steve Wozniak, he's the other Steve who Steve Jobs screwed over to more or less create Apple and then go on to build it to be the way that it is today. I'd like to believe in a parallel universe, Steve Wozniak, was the person who took his own work and forged his own company. And I feel like we'd have a very different computational landscape if that were the case.
Yeah. I haven't seen the biography with Ashton Kutcher playing Jobs, but the one where Michael Fassbender plays Jobs and Seth Rogen plays Woz, maybe you get that part down really well. They talk about the garage fight about the number of slots on the Apple II. He's like, yes, we should have more slots so people could, right? And that bickering, that fight has continued on even in the early days of Apple to Woz's position on a lot of things now. I'm glad, there might be some other things the movie kind of fictionalizes, right? But they got that
for the sake of storytelling.
Well.
But I'll end it saying that Woz points out that were it not for the Apple II's modularity and open source nature, there were for the first 10 years of Apple, that was their only source of income. Their primary source of revenue was strictly that computer, and it came from people's ability to add and modify and change it to their will, so long as they had the know-how. So I highly recommend going to peep that. It is really worth listening to, even if you don't fully understand what it means to write to repair. Steve Jobs is a real down to earth guy, and he knows how to explain stuff. So go check it out. Really solid video.